Azure Active Directory, a very important infrastructure topic. So we are going to deal with all basics. We're going to see how we can create users, groups, devices, how we can make role-based security implemented in Azure, how we can have applications using those Azure Active Directory credentials for allowing users or maybe denying users, single sign-on feature, and so on. So let's first begin with the basic introduction as usual. See, we all know Windows Active Directory. But remember, this is not Windows Active Directory. This is Microsoft Azure Active Directory. In short, we call it as Azure AD. That's the short name given to it. Now, it is a multi-tenant cloud-based identity and access management solution for the resources that exist in cloud. The rest all is okay, but this is important. Identity and access management. So basically, for identifying users, we will create their account, provide some password in Azure AD. Azure AD will be responsible for authenticating the users and accordingly assigning permissions to various other resources which are part of our Azure cloud. And it is multi-tenant. Implies what? Yes, the same Active Directory can be used with multiple clients. And in Azure, we can have multiple Active Directory tenants created. In Azure AD service, multiple Active Directory tenants can be created and each tenant can have a different set of users. So basically, the complete user management infrastructure, which otherwise a developer is supposed to take care of at the time of coding applications. We have to create tables for managing users, adding users, editing users, deleting users, providing features for recovery of password, ensure that people are not accessing our site or web application by trying to hack it. There's a lot of features which are built in Azure Active Directory, which otherwise a developer is supposed to take care of. So yes, moving from the traditional programming of applications to Azure Active Directory will reduce lots of programming efforts, which otherwise a developer is supposed to take care of. Provides single sign-on features, wherein once we log in into one application, automatically we will be approved or we will be treated as logged in other applications also. You don't have to provide the same credentials again and again. So what is the benefit? Now for IT admins, what is the benefit? Azure AD provides an affordable, so not expensive and affordable, easy to use solution to give employees and business partner single sign-on to thousands of cloud SaaS applications. See, Microsoft has provided a gallery of SaaS applications which are already supporting Azure AD. So if I want to make use of those applications in my organization, I can have a user account created in Azure AD and the same account then can be used for accessing all those applications. The user doesn't have to use different ID for each one of them. So an organization level ID can be created and the same ID can be granted permissions to various applications the organization is trying to make use of. So that is the kind of benefit the admins are going to get. Now what are the benefits for the developers? Azure AD lets you focus on building your application. As I said, you will focus on the logic required for your application. Obviously, it's going to be fast and simple to integrate with the world-class identity management solution used by millions of organizations across the world. That means complete user management will be moved away from our application. Microsoft will make you do everything from their portal. You can create users from the portal. You can assign roles to the users from the portal, or if required, of course, a custom interface can be done. But that is again going to be only called to simple API methods. Lot of programming in background is already done for us, which is hidden from us, which remains transparent to us. Organizations can use Azure AD to improve employee productivity. How? Because it doesn't have to log in again and again. So automatically his productivity will get improved, streamline IT processes, and improve security for adopting various cloud services. So we can basically categorize this set of users will have this much access, that set of users will have that much access. Like that, complete streamlining is possible because of the Azure AD, specifically in the cloud set of services. Employees can access online applications by using a single user account. SSO feature we call it. Azure AD is highly scalable. That means if your organization has only 10 users, you can use it. If your organization has 1000 users, you can use it. If your organization has 10,000 or even a lakh of users, still you can make use of Azure AD without any problem. The scalability is all built in and highly available. Now, how it is highly available? Because the data is maintained at multiple data centers. The infrastructure which Azure AD takes care of will help you to even overcome the disaster problems at one particular data center. See, it is running around 28 data centers across the world. So if by chance something goes wrong at one data center, you will still have everything available from some other data center. That's the kind of assurance which Microsoft gives you when you are making use of Azure AD. It's highly reliable, and even if the data center goes down, copy of your data are live in at least 2 or more regionally dispersed data centers. That means at a good distance, the data centers are available. It's not like flood has come and 2 data centers have gone away. That kind of thing would not happen. There will be around at least 250 miles of distance between the 2 data centers which Microsoft maintains. So because of the flood or because of the war or because of any other reason, if one data center goes down, even then your Azure AD information will be taken up automatically from another data center. The switchover is going to happen without even our knowledge. Many applications built on the platform such as, this is the beautiful thing. If you are a .NET developer, if you are a Java developer, if you are a Node.js developer, if you are a PHP developer, and the list is growing. Microsoft is adding more and more languages to their cover. But yes, all these are pretty well going to integrate with Azure AD. You can use protocols like SAML, WS Federation, OpenID Connect. Of course, the OpenID Connect is the most popular one used nowadays. All these things can be used by the applications developed in different languages to make use of the Azure AD advantage. Through the support of OAuth 2.0, remember Azure AD is now upgraded to OAuth 2.0, not OAuth 1.0. So developers can develop mobile and web service applications that integrate with Microsoft Identity Platform for cloud authentication and access management. That means your mobile applications, your desktop applications, your apps, web services, that means web APIs, all the type of applications, there is a scope for integrating with Azure AD. Yes, if you want to programmatically control Azure AD, you want to programmatically create users, you want to create roles and groups, you want to bind users and groups, there is something called as Graph API which is available for doing this. So we don't use something which was earlier used, LDAP, but instead we use the Graph API today, and Graph API is REST based. Now when I say it is REST based, I can use it in almost every language which is going to provide support for REST. That's the beauty of it. That means if you want to build your own interface for managing users, you can do that by in background making use of the Graph API. So these are the major reasons why Azure AD is getting popular day by day. People are moving away from their in-house Active Directory to Azure AD also. Now you can use Azure AD to do what? Yes, you can use for managing users and groups. You can provision new users. Basically, it's a repetition. Enable federation between organizations. You can make use of applications of another organization with your ID or the vice versa. To users of other organization, you can provide access to certain applications in your organization. Yes, indeed, it's a identity management solution. Rather, it's the first step. It identifies irregular sign-in activity. There is a lot of machine learning which is happening in background, which takes care of identifying the irregular sign-in activity. For example, there is some IP from which lots of login requests are coming. Automatically that IP will be blacklisted by Azure AD. Or let's say I am in India, on a regular basis I am logging in from my country, my location. Suddenly with my ID, if somebody logs in from another location, Azure AD will not let in. It will ask me to confirm that I have changed my location. So yes, that kind of irregular sign-in activities are all built in without we doing even single line of code. You can use single sign-on on cloud-based applications. You can use single sign-on on cloud-based, on-premise, and Azure-based applications. All of them. If an application is in cloud, which we have hosted, custom applications, or any application was picked up from the gallery, all these applications which can be picked up from gallery, or even if your application is in an on-premise environment, that means it is not even in Azure, then also you can make use of Azure AD. Yes, it provides multi-factor authentication. That means in addition to username and password, you have to further verify your identity by using maybe email or SMS, additional multi-factor authentication that is called. Existing on-premise Active Directory implementations to Azure AD. It extends basically. Whatever we were earlier doing in Windows Active Directory, all that can be now extended to Azure AD. It integrates pretty well with it. How we will see that? Coming to now the edition. Yes, there is a free edition which people can try. We can move on to basic. The only difference between free edition and basic edition majorly is in basic edition we can promise 99.9% SLA. In multiple data centers it will be replicated only if it is basic edition. Free edition they don't promise any kind of SLA. We take a chance if the data center goes down, our users will not be able to log in if you are making use of the free edition. Pretty obvious. But yes, simple user management, change password, synchronization, the core features are all supported here. Almost same set, all these features and little extra. Group based access management. Groups can be basically given permissions. Here there is no provision to provide groups to the, you cannot provide permissions to the groups. But here you can have group based access management, role based access management. You can have self-service password reset feature. If enabled, user can reset their own password, or if there are services which are running in background, they can reset their own password. Yeah, here we can get company branding. Otherwise, we'll get the default page of Microsoft when we are using the free edition, whenever we log in. But here company branding can be done by changing the logo, the access panel. There is something called as access panel which we are going to discuss. All that can be changed. So then you have got premium edition. Now premium is really premium, pretty expensive, but it also gives you really wonderful features for your organization. Like multi-factor authentication is supported only in premium edition. Self-service identity and access management feature is supported only in premium edition. That means users can put their request to join, and then later the approver has to approve it and they will be accepted into the system. Advanced reports. I told you earlier we have this feature where irregularity can be identified, but that has to be fetched through reports. Basic reports are available, but advanced reports are available only in premium edition. The usage reports, from which part of the world we have got how much traffic, all those reports are available. Dynamic groups and self-service group management is again basically dynamic group is a feature which is available in premium edition. Identity Manager, Microsoft Identity Manager, on-premise Identity and Access Management Suite, self-service password reset, and password write back for an on-premise user. That means if the password is updated in on-premise, it will get updated in the Azure also. So that kind of feature, there is something to be discussed before that, before you understand. So these and then further more advanced features are available here. So we will not be able to get into a lot of premium features. Just theoretically I can explain, but yes, you will understand most of the Active Directory features by end of this particular session. So let's see the Active Directory in action now. Now, directories provide a simple and logical way to group related identities. Very simple point actually. Directories provide implies we can have multiple directories. We have multiple directories implies we have multiple logical way of grouping users. 3 different directories can have 3 different set of users. Now, why we need multiple directories, we will see. A directory can consist of following 3 types of identities. User added manually to the directory. If I am a directory administrator, I am going to add users of my organization into the directory. That is one way of getting users into the directory, and that's most common. Users synced from an existing Active Directory installation which is on premise. You are already using Windows Active Directory. You want to get all those Windows Active Directory users synced into the Azure Active Directory. Because Windows Active Directory users cannot access applications which are in Azure. For applications which are in Azure, for their identity, for the user's identity, they will refer to Azure AD. I repeat, on-premise identity, that is Windows identity provided by Windows Active Directory, cannot be used by users within the organization to access those applications which are in Azure cloud. But vice versa is true. If you have already provided your identity with Azure AD, the applications in on-premise can access them. But for this, what we will have to do is sync all those users which are there in on-premise into Azure AD. That step we will have to perform as an administrator. I can also have third-party accounts. Into my Azure Active Directory, I can add your account. If you are user from some other organization, if you are present in some other Active Directory, or even if you only have a simple Microsoft account, I can put you into Azure Active Directory. Yes, the basic criteria is you should have a Microsoft account. Any user who has Microsoft account outside my organization, I can invite them into my Azure Active Directory as a guest. How it is done? We will see that. Access control in Azure starts from a billing perspective. This is important. The actual owner of Azure account accessed by visiting Azure Account Center is account administrator. Remember this role. Account administrator. Like for my account, when I created Azure account, I become an account administrator. And I am going to be billed for anything under my account. Let me show you. See here, I have a directory and now I have created multiple other subscriptions. If I go to subscriptions, all services, subscriptions, it will show me multiple subscriptions. These are multiple subscriptions, right? So I'm actually owner of this, I'm owner of this, but these two subscriptions are not, I'm not owner, I'm only the reader. But I'm going to pay for this particular subscriptions because I am the account administrator even for these two subscriptions. At the organization level, these two accounts are created. So this is used by one associate of ours. This is used by another associate of ours. Whatever services they make use of, Deccansoft as an organization is going to pay for it. And I myself have these two subscriptions. I repeat, I am being billed for multiple subscriptions. Though I am owner of only two subscriptions. Why? Because these are under my purview, under my organization's purview, but the owner of that is somebody else. So I am the actual account owner. Subscriptions are containers for billing, but they also act as security boundary. Very important. Billing is always, as you can see here, billing is always at the level of subscription. If you have a subscription activated, for that subscription you'll have to pay. So when you use Azure Pass, you get Microsoft Azure Pass subscription. When you create your account by providing your credentials and credit card number, you get free trial subscription. Like that, you have pay as you go subscription. You have got Microsoft Enterprise subscription. I have something called as Microsoft Azure sponsorship subscription. Extra privileges given to me because of the Microsoft partnership and certifications I have. So like that, there are different types of subscriptions and each subscription will have separate billing. But all the subscriptions can be attached to the same account administrator. Remember this. Your Azure subscription has a trust with Azure AD, which means that it trusts the directory to authenticate users, services, and devices. So Azure AD has actually nothing to do with subscription. You can have a Azure AD account even without a subscription. But Azure AD and subscriptions are generally connected with each other so that there can be a trust relationship. So that in the subscription, the resources which are created are given access to the users in the corresponding Azure account, Azure AD. A user should exist in Azure AD so that the user would then have access to the services which are provided by the Azure. I repeat this point. A user should be existing in Azure AD. And Azure AD then should be connected to the subscription so that the resources of the subscription are accessible to that particular user whose account is existing in Azure AD. Yeah, I forgot to mention that this is security boundary. It's basically implies that when I say there is a security boundary, it implies that yes, within this particular subscription, so and so user has complete privilege or reader privilege or managing privilege, things like that. So I repeat once again in summary, how does it all happen? First, I create an Azure account. So at that time, I am called as Azure Account Administrator. The moment I create an Azure account, I am Azure Account Administrator. This also creates an Azure AD. For me, an Azure AD tenant. One tenant is created. We can say that. Then next what happens is we log in as that account administrator and we add subscriptions to our account. Or somebody else will give me access to their subscription. Even that is possible. For example, I can invite you to have access to this particular subscription. I can invite you. Like these people have made me reader, they can also make me owner of this subscription. Not owner, sorry. They can make me, let us say, permission where I can have read and write access rather than only reader access. So that kind of permission also can be given. I can invite subscription. So one account of user can have multiple subscription. That is the point. Within the subscription only, all the resources will be present. Resources are created in a subscription, and the charges of these resources are put onto subscription. So subscription becomes the criteria for billing. But who will be billed? The administrator who owns that subscription is going to bill. For every subscription, there is only one account administrator. Remember this. So any kind of resources which are created in the subscription, resources are created. Where are the charges accumulated? In subscription. From whose credit card or debit card, whatever you have provided. Who will be billed for all those charges? Account admin can be billed. So can account admin have multiple subscriptions? Yes. Can one subscription have multiple resources? Yes. One admin can have multiple subscriptions and one subscription can have multiple resources. This point you have to keep in mind. And the best example is my account here. I am the owner of these two subscriptions. Though they are created by somebody else, I am the owner because they are created at the organization level. Multiple subscriptions can trust same directory, but each subscription can trust only one directory. As I said, multiple subscriptions can trust the same directory. That means one AD can have one AD will have each subscription. Okay, one subscription will be attached to one AD only. But one AD can have multiple subscriptions. Remember this. Between subscription and AD, it is many to one relationship. Or AD and subscription, it is one to many relationship. Now, we'll do all this practically. We are going to look at all these things. Manage multiple Azure AD tenants. You can sign up to Azure, Office 365, Microsoft Dynamics, Microsoft Intune. All these are different identity management. All these are different services which needs identity. And for all these products of Microsoft, all these are products of Microsoft, a single Azure AD is sufficient. So if you are already using Office 365, you are actually already having Azure AD directory. Or if you are using Dynamics, guarantee for sure you will have Azure AD. Any one of these services if you are using in your organization, for sure there is an Azure Active Directory existing. And that is the directory which is going to be used for authenticating the users. All their sign-in attempts will be authenticated by the Azure Active Directory. So it is not necessary for Office 365 you should have separate AD. For Azure you should have separate AD. No. A common Azure AD can be used for all of them. That's the beautiful thing about it. Now what does multiple directory support means within the organization? Why would I have multiple Azure Active Directories created? See, if I go to now Azure AD, Azure Active Directory, this is the directory I have. and I can have multiple directories actually. And to switch from one directory to another directory, I'll have to use this option. So this is one directory I have. This is another directory I have. I am managing directory of one of my customer. This is not owned by me. I'm not account administrator of this, but I can manage this because I've been given rights to do that. So one of our client, he has a directory here. This somebody made me owner. I don't even know who is that. I'm not able to get rid of it. Microsoft has this bug. If you make me an owner of an Active Directory, it will get listed in my account. But this was created much before that bug was resolved. Now, Microsoft will not make me owner of directory unless I accept it. Earlier, it was not like that in the beginning. You make me owner, immediately I'll become the owner. I don't even get a confirmation that I want to become owner. But now they have resolved it. So this problem is there. We are not able to get rid of it. It's like a permanent thing there sitting without use. Because when I choose this, I have no permission in that account. It's an AD without subscription and I can't do anything in that. See, I'm switching actually. Now I'm using that directory. Complete switch. The resource set here will be different. I cannot create any resource in this directory. Even if I try to, it will say you don't have permissions. Just trying to show you some. Today it may not happen because my account is pretty old. This problem is existing. Let me go back. Irrelevant content. Now I go back to my main directory. So why multiple directory supports are needed? That's a very important question. Add a new directory for testing or for other non-production usage. I can have certain applications which are in testing phase. I don't want those applications to be available to all the users of my organization. So yes, I'll create a separate directory, and in that directory I'm going to provide access to the resource, access to the test applications. But of course, for production, I may have a separate directory altogether. The applications which are live are accessible to more users, so they might be in different directory altogether. Or for managing data synchronized from another AD forest. Multiple directories can be existing in the forest. Managing all existing Azure directories such as Azure, Office 365, Microsoft Intune by using the same account. If at all multiple directories are used, like for my organization, I have a separate Azure AD created for Office 360, separate AD created for Office 365, Azure AD, and I have a separate Azure AD for my Azure account. I mean, it just happened by mistake. Actually, it is not required. But if I want to manage Office 365 users from Azure portal, I can do that by just creating multiple Active Directories management in portal. Of course, for both of them, I should be a global administrator. I'll show you how to do this practically. Now itself, I'll show you. Add users to new Azure AD from existing directory, such as take users from the production directory and use them in test environment without requiring. Actually, this is the first one only. It's just a repetition. So how to do this? How do I link two different directories and manage at one place? That's what I want to see now. What I want to do is I have two accounts. So let's say in Chrome, I'm logging on to another account. It's a different account managed by deccansoft@hotmail.com. So there are two account owners. Remember, these are as good as situation where there are two account owners. One account owner is basically account administrator, we can call it. One account admin is, let's say, Sandeepsoni. And there is another account admin which is Deccansoft. Here I log in with my identity. Here I log in with another identity. So there are two account admins. Now what I want to do now is, I want to manage this Azure directory from my account. That's my requirement. I want this to be managed from here. Precisely that is needed. So how to do that? Subscription amount has ended in that. Okay, let me switch. I may not be able to demonstrate because the account got locked because there is no subscription amount in that. It's going to a wrong directory. Let me go to incognito. Let's try this once. I'm just trying once because that's the safest thing for me. Damn it, this is too much. It's not giving me opportunity to switch. This, I am the owner of this account, deccansoft.onmicrosoft.com. This is one Azure AD tenant. This is a account created by some other organization where they wanted me to be a consultant on Azure. They had some queries on Azure. So they gave me access to these accounts. So what I did, I came here and for managing them, I changed it to this. Now when changed to this, what happens is, every time it will take me to that account only, next time also when I log in. But now they have removed permission for me in that account. And now Microsoft is toggling. You see, this problem is coming. I'm not interested in to go into that account now, but it is still by default taking me into that account only. So somewhere on server of Microsoft, it is remembering which was my last Azure tenant, active Azure tenant, and it is trying to take me to that account where I do not have permission. Because I do not have permission, it is asking me to log into another identity, and it's automatically happening. I'm doing nothing. All this is drama automatically happening. So what I did now, explicitly I have to navigate to my account. This is the URL. So I paste that and I go there, it takes me there. But the issue now is, I'm still listed. These people only removed my permission, but I am still listed in their account. That has become a problem now. So I cannot switch to this. I'll have to talk to them and ask them to remove myself from their account. Then this I'll get rid of. Anyways, now you see, what I'm going to do is, coming to now our actual demo. There are two accounts I was saying. One account admin is Sandeepsoni. Another account admin is Deccansoft. This is the email ID. Now for the first account admin, the tenant ID is this. For the second one, the tenant ID is this. There are two different tenant IDs. Azure AD tenant ID we call it. Let me show you this thing. deccansoft.onmicrosoft.com. Sandeepsoni deccansoft.onmicrosoft.com. So every Azure account is created with one tenant. That's what is this tenant. Now what I want to manage from my ID this account. That's my requirement. So right now Sandeepsoni is not getting Deccansoft listed here, correct? I want Deccansoft to be listed here. So for that, what to do? I now go to the Deccansoft account. This is Chrome, in which I have logged in with Deccansoft account. And I go to Azure AD. Yeah, I just closed the browser and logged in again. It's all fine. Some bug in Microsoft system. That's not our problem. Leave it. So here you see, I am into Deccansoft account. So what I'll do now is, I went to Deccansoft account Active Directory. I go to users. Right, there are two users. I will add now a third user. Now because Sandeepsoni has a different domain, I cannot directly use the option of add user. I can use add user option only if I want to add a user with something @deccansoft@hotmail.onmicrosoft.com. I'll explain it here. Into this directory, I can have users like this. User 1, user 2. Like this we can have. Whereas in this directory, by default, we can have users like user 1 this part. So this users, I can simply directly add into the Active Directory. But now what is my requirement? My requirement is this user should be added to this Active Directory. So this is supposed to be a guest user. Remember this point. So I now go to add guest user. Say invite. Now once I am added here as a guest user, now log in with the account. And here we are now going to have you see Deccansoft Hotmail. Oh. Now what I want to do is, Sandeepsoni is there now. I'm back into Deccansoft account. I go to Sandeepsoni account, sandeepsoni@deccansoft.com. See, sandeepsoni@deccansoft.com. I'll go to directory roles and I'll make this fellow as global administrator. Now Sandeepsoni has become global administrator of Deccansoft Active Directory. Sandeepsoni now has become global administrator of Deccansoft Azure AD. So now if I go back to Sandeepsoni account, there I can manage Deccansoft AD exactly the way I would manage now my AD. I have now become not guest, I have now become global admin. Who gave me this global admin right? This user has given me. Being a global admin, under Sandeepsoni account, there will be two identities. I mean two Azure ADs. This will be there and this also will be there. And in this also I will be able to create users. I will be able to create users here. I will be able to create users here when I am logged in with this ID. So let's go back to our notes. So what is that we achieved successfully? I demonstrated how we can actually have ownership of another Active Directory. But what is important is, I'm just logging in again. I can have multiple Active Directories. Let me first remove this user once again. I don't want this user to be there. And just to avoid confusion, don't keep the user permanently. I can always go to that user and delete it. It's showing guest because I did not click on OK for global user. Gone. So now if I refresh, full page refresh you have to do. You should not see Deccansoft in the list now because you are no more owner of it. Now, what we can do is, I can myself, forget about other Active Directory from outside. Here itself, I can create a new Active Directory. Azure Active Directory. I'm creating a new. Remember, directly you have to click on create a resource, search Azure Active Directory and create a new directory. You have to give a name. So we have now organization name as Sandeepsoni, initial domain name as sandeepsoni.onmicrosoft.com. So here there is a small addition. So what is happening now? The email ID Sandeepsoni, when I log in, I am now going to have two directories. I would say this is Azure AD tenant 1 and this now Azure AD tenant 2, which is Sandeepsoni 2.onmicrosoft.com. So two ADs, I am the owner now. What is the benefit? This I can use it for probably production and this I'll use it for my testing. That is a kind of benefit. This is for production and this is for testing. So like that, multiple ADs can be created. Directory is created. Now to switch to that directory, I have to refresh the full page, and then it will be listed here. Sandeepsoni2.onmicrosoft.com. And in this I can start creating users. So conclusion is, here also I just, all the things will be there. Azure AD, you can create users. So user 1, demo user @Sandeepsoni2.on. See, no invitation needed, nothing, direct. I have logged in with Sandeepsoni at deccansoft.com. I switched into a different directory, and that directory I am managing from here. But into this directory, try to add a resource, let's say app service, something randomly I'm doing it. I try to add a app service. Don't worry about all this. What? See, finish. You're currently signed into Sandeepsoni, which does not have any subscription. So unless there is a subscription assigned to this, we cannot manage this. I mean, we cannot add resources. We can add users, but we cannot add resources into this directory. Very important. So users can be added to this. Now, why are we going to do this then? What I'll do, I'll tell you practically. I'm going to add users here. Like I'll add here demo user 1 @Sandeepsoni2.onmicrosoft.com. Like that, multiple users I'll add to this domain. And these users, if needed, we can add here also. Because they are already existing in one AD, we can always add that user to another AD. Now here one very important point you have to understand. That is, though I am not able to access resources in the, I am not able to create resources in that particular subscription, I can still create applications and give permissions to these users. Remember that. Typical point. There are two ways of looking at Azure portal. One is through the portal we are trying to manage these resources. I'm not able to access that for this particular account because there is no subscription. There is no subscription assigned. So resources cannot be created under Sandeepsoni 2. Under this, resources cannot be created. But I can always have applications who can access these users. I mean, the applications can be created, not I would say Office 365 can be added, or maybe my custom application can be added. Towards the end of Azure AD topic, I'm going to teach you that. Those applications can have access to these users. Rather, these users, I can give access to the applications which are part of this tenant. That is the main advantage of it, even without having subscription. I repeat, there is no subscription. And subscription is not needed. Why? I'm only going to create Azure AD applications. And into these applications, I'm going to add users. And these users will be authenticated using this username and password. When we log in, these users will be authenticated by this directory and given access to these applications. So developers can still use this Azure AD, but we cannot make use of this tenant or this Azure AD account for creating new resources, as there is no subscription associated with it. So now, what is the conclusion? One administrator, one Active Directory, one account administrator can have multiple Active Directories. We can either create a new directory or we can use an existing directory. All the subscriptions will be listed. Let's say Visual Studio Enterprise subscription. Here we'll have manage. Click on the manage. It will take you to the management portal, subscription management portal. It's a different portal for managing subscription. Here it is. So there will be an option, transfer subscription. And I can transfer subscription to somebody else. So it's not safe to do that. I have to log in with the new account where I am the owner, and I have to transfer it. So subscriptions can be transferred from one account to the other account. I never completed this step. Always I came till here and I stopped. Yeah, the classic portal, it was little easy. You could directly see. But the classic portal is almost dead now. I don't even visit to that. So to add an existing subscription to your Azure AD, perform these steps. This is copied from documentation. Though I stopped here, you can continue and finish it off in case it is real-time requirement. I'm just trying to avoid, because there are a lot of free credits which I get in my subscriptions and I cannot take risk for the mistakes which Microsoft has done. I've already showed you how you can change the directory role of a given user. And if you want to learn about each role, you can go to this link and read there. The multiple roles. And when we are done, we can always delete a directory. When we don't need the directory, you can just go to the directory and there will be option delete. Go to Azure AD. First you have to switch, and after switching, go to AD and delete directory. Remember, you can delete this directory only under certain condition. You see, I cannot delete directory because there are users in that directory. But now they have given shortcut. This option was not there earlier. I can simply click delete all users. Now back to delete option. All fine. So it will take a couple of minutes and then this will be enabled. We can delete it. Once it is enabled, we can delete. That's it. This will go away.